Hello. We're back. Hi. Sorry for such a long hiatus. Life, you know, we have day jobs, we have stuff going on, but we're gonna commit this time.
We are committed to this podcast.
Exactly, to this schedule. But yeah, welcome to the Brandon and Daryl Experience, or the BDE podcast. I'm Daryl.
And I'm Brandon.
And today we thought, since we had such a long hiatus, and since there have been so many things that have happened since the last time we had uploaded, why not talk about some of the major events that have happened since our
hiatus,
our break, I guess. There's been a lot. In a weird way, we've been living through fucking history.
you take, 6 months, 5 months off, and basically the whole culture of at least America and parts of the world have changed. Exactly.
And it's like, it's crazy that so much has happened in such a short amount of time. Like, today we're recording this, it's the 14th of August, so we're well past the halfway mark of the year. But regardless, this has been an insane year, and everything's been a hot mess. And so it's going to be fun to kind of talk about our thoughts a little bit on all the bullshit that's been going on.
Exactly.
So Brandon, take it away.
Well, yeah, I think it's only fair that we kind of start off where we left off, which is the Oscars. I mean, our last episode is all about the predictions that we had, but No one could have predicted the the slap heard around the world, that being Will Smith and Chris Rock. And I know part of the reason why we didn't go actually record our episode following the Oscars was because, Daryl, you said that you didn't really want to talk and cover such a heated moment, and I get it, because it's like everyone else is doing it, and like it's not our place to say whether it was right or wrong, even though I personally think Will Smith was out of line for that. But he's already dealt with his backlash, especially now being like 5 months later. It should be under the rug, but nope, we're still talking about it. Will just even did a recent video podcast. What did he do? He did a video basically answering Q&As from
it was
people.
A video that I guess he posted to YouTube. I don't even know where he posted it, but it's an apology video. Apparently it's long. I did not watch it.
I saw little bits and pieces, but
I've seen screen grabs, but I was kind of after it happened, I was kind of well, that was a shocking moment, but I didn't really think that it was going to spark such a large debate, I guess. Where, I think everyone agrees that Will Smith's actions were not correct. I think that, we can get into the nuance of, does he have a right to feel angry about what happened? And if you don't know, which I don't know how you wouldn't know about this by now, but basically because Chris Rock had made a G.I. Jane joke in reference to Jada's shaved head, Will had gotten up, smacked him, and then screamed to get his wife's name out of his fucking mouth. And it was a big moment. We were actually watching the Oscars when it happened. I thought it was a technical glitch, and then when it happened, I thought it was a skit, and then it turned out it wasn't a skit, it turned out it was legit, and then from then on, the whole ceremony was just thrown off. And I thought that it was just kind of well, damn, that's a crazy thing to happen at the Oscars. But, we've seen so many crazy things happen at the Oscars that I didn't really think it would be anything worth, getting into, necessarily. There was a whole year, I don't remember, it was back in the 70s, I think, where someone literally went streaking across the stage at the Oscars. There was, of course, the big Oscars La La Land Moonlight mix up, and there have been a lot of shit that's gone down at that award ceremony, and I just thought this is just gonna be another one of those things.
But it's violence.
But it's violence. It turned into something else. And I think that, I don't know, it was just really hard to kind of talk about, because I think that there was just so much, like, there on one end of the whole thing, it was, oh, like, Will Smith should be in jail, he should be arrested, he should have been kicked out, he should have been this, that, his Oscar should be taken away, which, as you probably heard in our Oscar predictions, it was, people knew that he was going to win the Oscar. Like, that was kind of the set outcome. If someone else had won, that would have been a huge upset. But the way the Oscars operate, they can't just, like, take away someone's award like that. Like, that's just not really how they work. But regardless, like, it was just a very weird moment, because of, I think it's the slap happened, but then on top of that, it was compounded by the fact that he won an Oscar. Like, maybe, like, what, 10, 15 minutes later?
Yeah, it wasn't that much later. I mean, also, there's, like, the in-between parts where it's like, oh, and now, to accept the reward, it's like Questlove, and it's like, oh, well, you kind of took the moment away from everyone else's awards, in a sense, though, too. Or it's supposed to be just a night about to celebrate. Like, this was the first in-person Oscars since the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, like, the previous year...
Well, it's not the first in person.
Well, no, but the previous year was like that hybridization of, like, where it's like there was, like, people from screens, they had pre-recorded, like, acceptance speeches, like, you know what I mean? Like,
that was this one. The last one wasn't pre-recorded. The last Oscars. So the way the last Oscars worked is that they wanted everyone to actually be in person. So what they did is they had COVID restrictions, COVID tests, whatever. People were expected to test negative, and they had the ceremony at the. I don't remember. We don't live on the West Coast.
I was thinking of the Emmys.
Oh yes, the Emmys was like that. Yes, it was. Yeah. Okay, I get you. Yeah, because the Emmys was like that. The Oscars, they had it at I don't even remember the name. We're not from the West Coast, so I'm trying to remember the name of the station, but it's some sort of like major, like, central station in LA. Yeah. And so they had it at that location, which I thought was a pretty cool location. But it wasn't that the speeches were pre-recorded. It was that, like, basically what they did is they created, like, set rooms in different countries and different locations. So that way people didn't have to travel out to LA to be present at the Oscars. But that bit them in the ass last year, because, like, you know, they had the whole Chadwick Boseman situation.
Oh yeah,
and then they gave the Oscar to Anthony Hopkins. Yeah, that was so fucked up. But they gave the Oscar to Anthony Hopkins, which is a deserved win. Don't get me wrong. But the thing about it that makes it even funnier is that Anthony Hopkins made it clear that he wasn't going to be attending, and then he asked if they would be willing to, like, let him, like, Zoom in or Skype in or whatever, and they said no. So that was a fuck up on their end. But with this Oscars, like, the pre-recorded, well, the Oscars were already a fucking mess. I think we should probably start there, because before the slap, there was already kind of a weird, like, tone that was happening, where it kind of felt like a lot of the awards were centered around kind of making fun of the films that were nominated, which is fine, but it was, like, making fun of it in how should I say this? Basically, like, they were more interested in championing, like, populist movies, which is fine. Like, cool. I'm glad Spider-Man gets its, like, 5 minutes. But at the same time, like, it seemed like it was about doing that over, like, celebrating the films that were nominated, or any of the films that had the potential to be nominated. It was just about championing, like, Marvel and Encanto for some reason.
For some reason, you know why.
Well, I know why, but, like, still, it was just kind of, like, messy. And then, like,
is a monopoly.
Yeah, that's true. And, like, the ABC is owned by Disney.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, you're right. But, like, I think it's just all messy, and I think that, like, we saw that in the way the ceremony was playing out with, like, the pre-recorded speeches, where, like, all the tech people basically had to give their speeches in a pre-recorded thing that no one was in attendance for, and they only showed, like, 5 minutes of it. They gave more time to watching Justice League, and what was the other movie? Army of the Dead, right?
Something like that.
Watching those 2 Zack Snyder films get attention. And then we're going to talk about Last Duel and be like, oh, that movie made no money and everyone fell asleep on it. Like, Well, damn. And Last Duel was better than half the movies that were nominated. So, like, what the fuck? It was just kind of a messy night. And I think that just was kind of the culmination of just a messy award season. Because, of course, there were various controversies prior to that with, like, Jane Campion, all the Oscar decisions that were being made, the Golden Globes being racist, which we all knew. It was just a messy year. And, and I guess a lot of the discourse surrounding Will Smith was, I don't know. I think that it was very difficult. For me personally, it was very difficult because, like, I think that there was kind of a line that was being crossed. Because I think on one hand, people were very vocal about how they felt about what happened. But I think that there were some people who kind of crossed that line into racism. And I'm probably on Twitter way too often, but that's kind of how I gauge, like, the general public's, like, feelings on certain things. And yeah, there was just, like, a lot of vitriol that kind of jumped into, like, a discussion about race and community and what exactly an event like that means to various communities. It was just kind of messy, and it was a lot. And so that's my feelings on it. I kind of talked a lot. I mean, Brandon, like, what were your thoughts about the event? Like, how did you feel about the slap, and then also the greater award season?
Yeah, I mean, I just wasn't too invested in the award season in general, just based on the movies that were nominated and whatnot. I mean, I think we felt that way. We were just like, yeah, whatever. We'll just, we'll do our nominations. We'll see who wins. We'll score up. We'll tally up our scores to see, who was got the most predictions correct, and we'll go from there. And then when the slap happened, I was like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Did that happen? Did we see right? Is this real? And I mean, I personally, you know how I feel about comedians, and like how I think that jokes, it's fair game. Like you should, especially in that role for Will Smith, like, he's been around comedians, he knows people, like he's in that inner circle where it's like, they're just playing, they're just making fun. Like, it's not supposed to be a harmful situation. So I don't know what underlying thing there was that night where Will just, snapped at Chris and acted in that way. But regardless, it wasn't okay. And I didn't think it was okay to act in such a manner, just from a simple, like, I think it's a simple, playful joke when you're saying, oh yeah, G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see the sequel. Like, that was the joke, essentially. And it's like, even if it was to target her alopecia, I still don't think it was. I don't know how we got from A to B. Like, he could have just left it as, keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth, and never went up on stage. And I think that would have been, in a sense, more impactful, because it's like, oh, okay, you know what, maybe that wasn't cool. And then Chris probably would have handled it the same way. I think he did the best in handling it, which was, one, just moving along with the show, just like, all right, I got slapped by Will Smith. Okay, that's a thing. And he didn't, like, it didn't escalate. So I give kudos to Chris in terms of just moving on from that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much my whole stance on it. Like, I think this is going to definitely taint people's taste of Will Smith for a little while. Do I think he should never, like, act again? Do I think he should go to jail? No, absolutely not. Like, we could talk about the double standards in some ways, where it's like, well, if that was anyone else who got, or like, slapped someone on stage, they'd be arrested. It's like, yeah, sure, we could argue that, but obviously if it was an actual big deal, things would have happened. Like, you would, like, Chris would have been like, I'm pressing charges, I'm doing that. Like, obviously, yeah. It wasn't that huge. And although they claim that, like, they're going to talk about it, I think they're both too grown and too, I don't want to say old, but I don't think anything's actually going to get resolved. They're just going to put on the PR stunt where it's like, which Will did, which is like, here's my public apology, so therefore people can get off my back, but, like, I'm not going to apologize to him in person unless, like, something actually, we'll never know what happens behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I personally don't think anything's going to get resolved, but, like, people are going to just move on from the event, and it's just going to be what it is. And that's kind of how it should be. Like, let's not focus on a simple slap from the night.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, for sure. I think that, like, I do think that, like, to some extent, I kind of see how it got there to some extent, because, like, going into, like, the night, there were a couple of, or I think it was just, like, I feel like there were a couple. Maybe I'm off, but, like, I do remember there was a joke thrown at Will and Jada.
No, there definitely was.
About,
it was from,
like, about their relationship prior to that.
I think it was Amy.
The ceremony. It was either Amy or Wanda. I'm trying to remember, or no, was it Regina? It was like they made a joke about like men that they would sleep with, and then they like pointed out. I'm trying to remember exactly what happened, but it was some sort of joke that was thrown their way.
I remember that happening and being like, ooh, like, well, yeah, them as a whole just didn't make sense as hosts, and then like the weird targeted attacks against other actors, I was like.
They were very strange, and like I don't blame them, because like they didn't write the material, or at least like they probably wrote some of the material, but obviously like certain material was greenlit by others. I'm almost positive probably other writers who were involved. So like I don't fully blame everything on them, but at the same time there are certain jokes that were like really strange and really odd, and like on the one hand, like, I want to give it to them for being able to even host the Oscars in the first place, because being an Oscar host is not easy, and we've seen plenty of times in which people have walked away from hosting the Oscars with a very, very different reputation than they had going in. I think about, like, Seth MacFarlane, how, like, I feel like people liked him, and then the Oscars happened, and then all of a sudden everyone was like, oh, he's a douche. And then there's, like, Anne Hathaway and James Franco, and that was messy years ago. Like, that Oscars, they're still considered to be some of the worst Oscar hosts to ever do it. And so, like, it is a really hard job. But it was just weird. And I think that, to some extent, that kind of fueled how we got there. I don't think that Will is wrong for being angry, but I do think that his actions were wrong, for sure. And I don't really think there's really any debate there. I think that there are plenty of other ways that he could have handled it. Even if he just screamed. Like, no slap, just screamed up on stage. I think more people will be willing to accept that than him slapping somebody the way he did. So, exactly. I don't know. I mean, messy. It was just messy.
And then
But I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I did want chaos. That wasn't the chaos I wanted, but I did want chaos.
You wanted an upset.
I wanted upsets. I did not want violence.
Not upset people.
Yeah, exactly.
Not upsets. Like, oh, man.
Well, I wanted people to be upset, but not
upset.
That. Yeah, exactly. Because, like, the other thing, the Oscars this year are super predictable. So predictable. Everyone, oh my God. Absolutely not. Coda? No. Anyway, sorry. What were we about to say?
I was going to say, from one upset to another, the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard situation.
Oh, Jesus Christ, I'm scared. Okay, all right.
I think like the whole like pop culture sphere in terms of movies and actors, like, just really were engulfed by these incidences back to back, which is like our whole like we need to like maybe somehow avoid this, but like somehow not. But now we're talking about it, so I guess we never really did avoid it. But yeah, there was a Johnny Depp and Amber Heard situation that we missed in our several months, and that was a hot mess too. And then with the things coming out after as well, where they're like, oh, we unsealed the court documents, and it's exposing Johnny Depp, and it's like, it's not really. You do realize, like, court uses permissible evidence and also evidence that gets submitted but doesn't get used in the court case, because again, you're trying to build your best case. So yeah, there's going to be some things about your client that don't look the best. However, what they fail to realize is, although it makes Johnny look worse, the documents also make Amber Heard look worse too. So it's like, you have to realize that, like, everything that happened in that situation was just bad and not good. And Daryl, you've said before, they probably both abused each other to some extent and whatever. Yeah. But like, I'm definitely not like a Depp stan where I'm just like, well, yeah, fuck Amber Heard, blah 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 blah. It's like, no, they're both not good people, and like, I think he's probably less at fault, which is what the court ruled as well. They're like, all right, he's less at fault, so here's some, here's your stipend, or here's your payment. Whatever the amount that made Amber Heard bankrupt,
punitive
essentially,
and compensatory damages.
Yeah. but yeah, that was a whole mess too. I think just the fact that people basically, I don't understand the stan culture, or like why we somehow pit. It's weird because like on one end the stan culture was for Depp, being like, all right, he's such a nice guy, like here's all these people who are anecdotally vouching for him, he would never beat a woman, look at all his past relationships. And then there's the stan culture of Amber Heard, or even her own public tweets where just like, this is a loss for women. I'm just like, okay, let's not go that far either. Like you pooped on a bed, like you can't you can't just be like,
oh my god,
this was a huge loss for women. It's like, no, you are part of a problem. Not women problem, but a problem being domestic abuse.
Well, yeah, I think that, like, God, where do I even start with this? So, I mean, when the news about this stuff first started coming up, because this is going all the way back to like 2019-ish, something like that.
No, it was like even
it was
earlier.
like 2018. Well, because they got married and divorced in 2015, or did they just get married in 2015? They divorced a little later, but it was like.
Yeah,
did they even make it through 2016? I don't even remember exactly.
I don't remember the exact timeline, but I know this has been going on for, well, 2017, I want to say it's where it started.
Okay. Well, like when it first came out, and Amber Heard first claimed that she was a domestic violence victim at the hands of Johnny Depp. I think it was very interesting because...
Well, she didn't say Johnny Depp. She said a previous relationship.
Well, yes, at the hands of a previous relationship. So she did not specify or say his name in an op-ed that she wrote for the Washington Post. We can all assume that it was Johnny Depp, and at this point, it's kind of been made clear that it's about Johnny Depp, but regardless. When that first came out, I don't remember much about it. I just remember basically being like, oh, damn, that's crazy. And it was happening during the height of Me Too. And Johnny Depp being an actor who's been in Hollywood for so long, like, it didn't really shock me necessarily because there were so many other actors who are basically being exposed for other shit. But when the audio came out of Amber saying those things to Johnny, they're back and forth. At that point, I felt like it seemed like the world was against Amber from that. Not that that's not warranted. That is perfectly warranted. But like, that was the moment where it was like, oh, the tides are turning. She's not a victim. She's lying. That became the narrative. And from then, when we actually get into this court case, it seemed like people had a very major stake in it. Not just because of like the actual case at hand, but I think because a lot of people were basically like, what's what I'm looking for? They were putting a lot of their own baggage and their own experiences into this case. It became a case where on Amber's side, if you don't believe Amber, then you are hurting the women's cause. You are creating a space in which victims are not believed, and this is a major loss for women. If you're on Johnny's side, it becomes about the idea that men can be abused too. I don't think that either side is wrong, but I think this is not the case to be putting that onto. I think that this is a very, very particular case of two people who I think were both very shitty to one another on various levels. Yeah. Now, I don't know where it starts. I don't know if one person started it over another. I don't know if there was violence that was only moving one way or another, but it just felt like on both sides it didn't seem like anybody was taking accountability for anything, in my opinion. I think a lot of Amber's side was like, oh, like, I did this because I was defending myself. But then on Johnny's side, it's like, yes, I have these problems, but like, well, I was still being abused. And the thing about it that, like, for both sides, like, on the one hand, Amber, the poop on the bed, we don't know where that came from. Maybe it was her. We don't know. The what is it called? The audio tapes, like, that she very clearly says, like, I was hitting you. I was not punching you, but I was hitting you. And so she very much says, like, she was acting in violent ways. And like, but then on Johnny's side, it's like, why are you sending text messages to Paul Bettany about wanting to fuck your wife's corpse? Like, it's just stuff like that where it's like, I don't think that we can really say that one person's innocent and one person's guilty, or one person's an abuser and one person's a victim. I don't think that. I honestly don't know where to fall on this. And so when I think the general popular narrative was that Amber is this manipulative abuser, I mean, I think that she, once again, is a shitty rich person who is out of touch. I think that she was very clearly trying to, like, fake cry during the trial. And I watched parts of the trial. I didn't really focus on it in detail. So, like, there are probably plenty of details that I missed, plenty of things that were thrown around that I didn't know about. I think that she has a lot of stuff that she's doing that's, like, really, really bad. But on the one hand, I don't fully believe that Johnny is just like this innocent victim, like, by himself. I just don't buy it necessarily. And so at the end of the day, I just kind of fall in the middle where I'm just like, they're both bad. Like, I just, like, they're both bad. I don't think it's a one or another. They're just both bad. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and I watched a decent portion of the trial. I couldn't keep up with it completely because, again, we have lives. Yeah. And it's not worth consuming ourselves over other people. Which is another thing that I thought was interesting, is that they publicized it. I think this definitely should have been just, like, something that goes on in the background that we eventually hear about. But the fact that they televised it, I think, is also what really drove in the stakes. It felt like, if anything, this is going to be like the OJ trials, where it gets
yeah, I heard a
like
lot of
re-dramatized later on somehow. I'm like that's what it feels like with this. But definitely, yeah, the narrative that they were trying to sell with Depp, which I kind of fell into, was that, like, he was driven to do certain things or say certain things because of how she treated him, which is, like, you can get it, obviously. Like, if you're in an abusive relationship, eventually maybe a straw is broken, and, like, and you're just like, I'll say and do random things, where it's like, oh yeah, with his severed off finger, after she threw a bottle and severed it, he then went to a random room in the house, I forget, like the bathroom or something, and started scribing with his own blood with the finger. Like,
yeah, which is like,
it's just like, okay, definitely, like, weird art student kind of vibes. Where it's just like, I'm trying to be poetic with my trauma. It's like, shut up.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like,
yeah, they're just
oh god, sorry.
Oh no, it's just, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, and it's just like, the more that we learn about the stuff that was going on in their relationship, I just don't think either party looks good. Like, it just, like, none of this looks good, in my opinion. So, like, when I hear people go on one side or another, I'm just like, I can't, like, yeah. And so, oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was gonna say, and, like, so, like, as much as, like, the popular narrative is that, like, Amber is this, like, terrible abuser, which, who knows, I'm just kind of like, I don't get why we're so, like, this is not, it's just not doing it. Like, it's just not coming together for me, because, like, this whole relationship, everything about it just seems bad. And, like, even, like, there was one detail that, for me, that makes me very skeptical about all of it, is that apparently, like, Amber had been claiming that there's been domestic abuse in their relationship, going all the way back to, like, the beginning of the relationship in, like, 2011, I think, 2012.
Yeah, something like that.
And like, that detail to me is like, I don't, unless she is like a Gone Girl Amy Elliott, like, why is she doing this, like, from the jump? Like, their relationship just started and she's doing this. And then, like, there's that, and then on top of that, like, there is, for me, I do have a little bit of hesitancy, because there is that power dynamic, as far as, like, Johnny Depp, super powerful, or not powerful, that's not the right word, super wealthy, connected actor, been acting for almost 40 years now, like, doing his shit. And then Amber Heard, this up-and-coming actress who was only, like, 20-something at the time then they started the relationship. He was already in, like, almost 50. Like, there is that dynamic that makes me, like, hesitant to be like, oh, well, it was obvious that she was, like, the abuser. Like, it's just all very muddy to me. And so, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, where do you think their careers go from here? Like, do you think Johnny goes back to making more films? Do you think he just wanted this, like, notch under his belt to be like, all right, I'm innocent, and now he's just going to go back to being, like, low radar kind of person. And what about Amber? Do you think Hollywood's going to basically blacklist her now? I mean, if she's not like, I don't know how it was working with her per se. Like, I don't remember hearing anything like, oh, she's awful to work with. But like, do you think people would blacklist her just because it's such a like, because it was such a public event?
So this is hard because in theory, the way I think it should happen is I don't really know if either one of them should be cast in anything moving forward. I don't know if either one of them should be in anything major, at least for a little bit. But I think that generally speaking, and like, of course, this is when you start getting into like the women's narrative of it all. Seeing the history of Hollywood and the way that Hollywood has played out, generally speaking, like big Hollywood actors, male actors specifically, they don't get canceled. They always come back in some capacity. And so as much as I want to be like, oh yeah, no, there's no way that Johnny Depp gets casted in anything moving forward, he's definitely going to get casted in something moving forward. Like, that's definitely going to happen regardless. And beyond that, like, I think there is a case to be made about like the fact that like his quote unquote cancellation, at least blacklisting in Hollywood, like I think there is a case to be made that it could have just been from his own antics on set. Apparently he had punched like a child AD or someone like that. I punched a child. But no, he apparently like assaulted somebody on set. He would always show up to set drunk. So like these are antics that like we've seen from major Hollywood actors before, and they shouldn't get away with that stuff, but usually they do. So I don't know if I think that he'd probably come back at some point. But I think Hollywood is much harsher on women, generally speaking. And so I don't think that Amber being someone who has this level of vitriol being thrown her way, I don't see her coming back. At least coming back anytime soon. And if she did come back, it would definitely be in like small indies. It would be in like probably stuff that people have not heard of or people have not even thought about. But it's very rare that women with that level of controversy actually come back in Hollywood. And so I don't see her coming back.
They should just have a coalition of canceled like people work together. So like,
oh my god.
So
oh
anything,
Jesus.
Her comeback will come because of Mel Gibson. So just have him direct a film. It'll be a love interest story between Amber Heard and Casey Affleck.
But see, this is where that's you know what's funny is that like you just named two actors who have Oscars. Two people who have just been nominated for Oscars within the past 5 years, despite their controversy.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
There are almost no examples of women who have that level of baggage.
Exactly, that's why she has to get in. You have to get in a Mel Gibson movie.
Oh Jesus!
It could be a biopic where she's like she's Mel Gibson's like estranged partner that, you know, Casey Affleck can be the one that says all the slurs over the phone.
Jesus Christ. But I mean, I will say, and this is probably something that people are going to be very like, oh, about. There is a small part of me that does feel bad for Amber, the tiniest bit. And the only reason for that is, I know, right? Shocker. And the only reason for that is, when Johnny Depp got canceled, I don't think that there was any level of vitriol that meets what she has been experiencing. And I don't think that we can say that there hasn't been any vitriol, because the fact that stores are putting up signs saying we accept everyone except Amber Heard, go the fuck away. The fact that there are people putting out tip jars like pro Johnny Depp, pro Amber Heard to make more money. The fact that people are putting up murals in like other countries of Amber like being an abuser, calling her Amber Turd on Twitter, doing all these things. Like, I don't remember, at least, Johnny Depp receiving any sort of level of hatred like this when he was deemed an abuser.
Yeah, I can't remember if that was the case.
And so I do feel bad the slightest bit, only because I don't know if I think that anybody really deserves to be in that level. Because when she says, like, if she were to say, like, I'm in fear of my life because of this, like, I'd believe her, probably. Like, I don't know. And so that's probably me being too nice. That's probably me being too, like I should not feel any sort of level of, like, I don't know, but like I do feel like the tiniest bit about that.
I don't think that's wrong with the feel though, because I feel like that's an issue in today's society, is that a lot of keyboard warriors are like jumping straight to the gun to like acts of like, where they they threaten violence, but they don't ever actually act on it. Not that I would want them to, but like this whole vitriol against people where it's like so cutthroat regardless of what happens. Like as soon as there's someone to antagonize, it's straight for the throat. And I feel like that's like people have lost their humanity in that sense, where they forget that like these are actual people. Like they never consider for a second that like if this were to happen to them, how they would feel.
Yeah.
Like because it's nice for people to feel like they have something to go against or to like be a part of. So it's like, oh, I want to be part of the group that hates Amber Heard now, and like they just say these things and they're like, yeah, fuck that bitch, and it's just like, okay, well. Imagine if that was you, and like you just lost your job and every other possibility of ever getting a job ever again. Which is like, yeah,
exactly. And like I said, she is most likely not a good person. All of this stuff was terrible. Terrible.
But should she get death threats every day? Probably not.
Yeah, no, she shouldn't be getting death threats. She shouldn't be doxxed. People should not go up and like accost her or something like that. Like that stuff shouldn't happen. And so like that's where like there has to be a line. And so yeah.
And now as we move on to our next topic, the thing that we should enact violence against is the decision versus Roe v. Wade.
Jesus Christ. No, this one is...
We're getting political now on this podcast.
Ridiculous. This doesn't make any...
We're getting political.
See, like the slap and Depp v. Heard, like, crazy, insane. Like,
where is the energy for Roe v. Wade? That same energy.
Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade. What? Doesn't make any sense to me. But, if you don't know, which if you didn't know, I don't know how the fuck you don't know. But anyway, so
tell them what happened.
So a few months back, don't remember the exact timeline, but a few months back, there was a draft decision that was leaked, basically showing that the Supreme Court was going to be voting to overturn Roe v. Wade. When that document came out, people weren't sure if it was real or if it was a hoax. When it was revealed that it was real, outrage, of course, because that's insane. Now a lot of people on the right, were basically more focused on the actual release of this document over the overturning of over the overturned decision. Crazy. But, like, those documents shouldn't be released. Just making that very clear. Yes, those documents are supposed to be kept secret, but this is something that's huge. And so later, when that draft decision turned into a final decision, which had now overturned Roe v. Wade, no longer making it a precedent for states for basically abortion to be seen as a constitutional right, and because it wasn't codified into law, that leaves it up to the states to decide whether or not abortion should be legal in those states, which creates a very, very complicated and scary set of circumstances for a lot of people. I think this is just sad. I think this is sad. I think it's gross. I think it's wild that something like this could be overturned. I think that the fact that Roe v. Wade was so focused on for so long is disgusting. I think that people should stop being in other people's fucking business. I think that I personally believe that people who are really anti-abortion are anti-abortion due to their religious beliefs, and that's perfectly fine. But that's your religious beliefs. So get your head out of someone's coochie. That's how I feel about it. Brandon, your thoughts?
Ditto. No, it's just ridiculous that, well, one, that it wasn't codified into law earlier, or at all, I should say. So Democrats do better. But they needed something to basically have a platform on. They're like, abortion rights, we have to keep that around. That's just a conspiracy theory in my head of why it wasn't codified earlier, or at all. Again, at all. And then like the presidents that also come with it are the assumptions, not even the assumptions, the straight up things that Clarence has said. Was just like, oh, maybe we should look at like birth control and like sodomy or like the privacy in the bedroom. It's like, no, why?
Yeah, like what?
No, we can't just no. Just why? Why is that a consideration? That shouldn't be consideration. It's like
it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
It's ridiculous.
That's the more scary thing to me, because at the end of the day, I think yes, this affects a huge portion of people, both men and women, whether the men realize it or not. But it's just like abortions are still going to happen, so it's just not safe or as safe anymore, at least in the States. However, I did hear that President Biden is trying to pass a law in which like people can go from state to state to get an abortion. So like say you live in a state that's like outlawed abortion, you can safely what's the word I'm looking for? It's not travel. I mean, it is travel, but like there's like an actual term for it where it's like you can safely basically go into another state, and you have basically a sanction or a sanctuary. Words are hard, and
I don't remember the term for it, but I know
you're basically protected that if you get an abortion in another state, you can go back to your home state to be like, all right, this happened. Which again, I don't think this shouldn't be the reality we live in, where where we have to basically make a law where that's a thing. Like. It's just mind-blowing to me that we've gone this far, and that people, like, again, like, your whole stance of where life begins, ends, whatever, that stays between you and the person that you were having a child with, not someone else. You don't know their financial situation, their personal home life situation, all these other things. I think it's just, well, most of us have to deal with an abortion. Probably not. Like, we aren't going to be the ones affected. However, there are people who literally have to think about this, whether it be on a daily, not daily basis, not like you're getting an abortion every day, but you know what I mean? Like, there is a person who's currently going through that experience where they're just like, I don't know if, like, I'm safe, whether or not to get this.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of health reasons, a myriad of reasons. It doesn't really, and it shouldn't matter what the reason is, actually, at the end of the day. It shouldn't matter. Like, even if it's like your go-to plan B situation where it's like, all right, I just got pregnant again, like, I need another abortion. Should it be that way? No. Like, it shouldn't be like, this is my 24th abortion. Like, of course, like, no one wants it to be used that way. However, statistically, and like, at all, most people don't use it that way. So I don't see how it matters. Like, I'm just rambling at this point.
No, I got you. Like, it's just, I can't really describe how insane it is that something like this happened now. Like, I think that it's because I guess for years people have been like trying to get the sitting president at whatever point in time to codify it into law to ensure that the right to an abortion was not going to be infringed upon, or it wasn't going to be something that could potentially be lost. And every president just never did it, I think, for the sake of votes?
Yeah.
I guess?
Well, it's...
But... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's crazy that you say that, because, you know, for Roe herself, when she came out at some point, I forget when she came out, but she was like, I'm actually anti-abortion. It was a bad choice on my part. Blah, 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 blah. Later on, she comes out with another public statement. She's like, well, I'm actually pro-abortion. I was actually just paid by people who were anti-abortion to basically be this platform because basically it changed my life. I got paid buttloads of money to be anti-abortion, even though I'm pro-choice. And it's like, oh my God, you are the worst. You are the absolute worst.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, and this came from her mouth. Like, this isn't just like some Onion article that I read. This is like actually, like, look it up yourselves. I maybe I can find it later on, but I'll probably forget about it. But look it up. Roe v. Wade. Roe basically the fact that she both was like pro-choice, like she wanted abortion. We basically got a federal decision made for her and for others to basically protect her rights. And then she's like, I'm anti-abortion. And then she backflaps again, and she's like, I was been pro-choice the whole time, but I'm a shill. Oh, it makes me upset.
Oh my god. It's just...
to go to your point with votes, yes, even on the Democratic side, on both sides, there's going to be shills for people and for ways to get votes and whatnot. And it's upsetting because it's like, there's just some things in life that should just be easy answers for these quote unquote problems or issues that we have in not only America, but the world. But we're just like, let's make it harder for the common person because you know what? My position in power matters more.
Oh my god. It's just so sad. Like, it's crazy that, I don't know. I feel like I've said, like, I've tried my best to, like, put out there, like, every feeling that came about when that happened. At that point, I felt like it's just all fucking crazy. Like, I don't even really know how to describe it. Now, of course, there are ways that this can be changed. Of course, it's not like there's a legal ban on abortion from a federal level, which is good, but I have no trust in the Supreme Court. I don't think anybody should have trust in the Supreme Court. I mean, I guess people who align themselves politically to, I guess, right-leaning people. I don't want to pigeonhole everybody into one category, but
yeah, I think
it's just very hard to, like...
It should be said that the institution of the Supreme Court should be trusted. However, the inhabitants of the current system are the ones that we don't trust, we should say.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, I just think that...
Because technically it's doing its job. Like, the Supreme Court did exactly what it's supposed to do, which is there's people put into power or put into place, which are the judges, and they make a decision which are supposed to represent the people. I mean, obviously, the system's a little broken in that sense, but it still did what it's supposed to do. It's not like there was this, like, I don't want to say like a conspiracy. There wasn't a coup or anything like that. It's like, no, a vote was held and technically majority voted, and it was overturned. And we may not like that decision based on the system we have in place, but that's how it is. But we should be angry with the people that are there currently. And for basically stating, because there's literally video evidence of everyone saying that Roe v. Wade is something that should remain. Yeah. And basically every single one of those parties that said that on video backtracked their statement with this decision. Looking at you, Clarence.
Oh, God. I fucking hate him so much. I mean, like, I hate him so much. I can't.
Well, let's just overturn interracial marriage at the same point if you want to revisit the 14th Amendment.
Well, I already felt some type of way realizing that Clarence. So prior to, like, 10 years ago, so, like, early high school, I had no knowledge of politics at all, or rather, I didn't really focus on it at all. So, like, stuff that was going on around me, I was just kind of like, oh, well, that's crazy, and then moved on.
Yo, that's crazy, man.
And then, basically, I think it was, as with many people, when Trump was elected, I think that's when a lot more people became, like, much more, like, aware of, like, trying to basically focus more on, like, what's actually going on politically. A lot more people became more politically charged and much more politically active because they were kind of, I guess, I don't want to use the word inspired, but I guess that's the word to use here, because of that happening. After that, became much more aware of, like, stuff that was going on in the world. But I think it just became very, very crazy to me that, like, that this thing, because this is a right that's being taken away from people, right? Like, this is still, like, the fact that we are taking rights away, it's crazy to me. And the fact that Clarence, being the jackass dickhead misogynist that he is, The fact that he would then say like, oh, we should look into these other things and maybe overturn those as well. It's like, sir, who fucking hurt you? Like, what is wrong with you? And then your racist ass wife, and your racist ass like in-laws are like, oh yeah, and then your wife having something to do with January 6th, which is also on our list, like the January 6th hearings. Are you serious? Like, what? And then on top of that, I didn't realize that he was that the Anita Hill stuff was about him. I didn't realize that was what that was about until I saw that movie from like 2016, I think. I did not realize, because honestly, a part of me thought when I was watching that movie, like, oh, this guy's dead. He's dead. He's not alive. He's a corpse in the ground. Nope. And then, nope, he's still here being terrible as usual. And I can't.
Well, I think that was a pretty good transition into January 6th.
Yeah, we can go ahead and transition into that. God, terrible, awful, horrible person. Moving on. Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I'm actually not as up to date with this information. I know that they had the January 6th hearings in regard to the insurrection on the Capitol building, and basically not a lot of people, but I think a decent amount of people that were at least doing reputable things are serving jail time now. Yeah, that's as much as I know. I think that was like the only update really from that, is that they basically had the hearings and they're like, all right, guilty. And yeah,
that's what I know. I don't really know much about I'm not really that up to date about it either. I've seen like bits and pieces of stuff that's been going on. The main stuff I know about it is that basically, as far as understanding what Trump had to do with the insurrection, it was crazy hearing I forgot her name, but it was one of the like secretaries, I believe, who was with Trump when it all started. And I think that at some point he had, well, one, apparently he had been like freaking out like a fucking child about going to the White House, or something, like basically going to be a part of what was happening. And like when people were trying to break into the Capitol, he was basically saying that like, oh, you should let them in, they're not trying to hurt me, or whatever. And then there became like a question of like the implication of what he was saying, like they're not here to hurt me, but they're here to hurt other people, or they're not here to hurt like the collective, I guess. And then on top of that, there was the stuff involving Mike Pence, how people were threatening to hang him, which, like, I don't like Mike Pence, don't get me wrong, but, like, what?
Yeah, supposedly from someone who was on your side.
Yeah, and then, like, there was, apparently at some point Trump tried to jump to the front of his limo and, like, tried to, like, grab the wheel to turn around to go to it was just something really wild and insane, and I'm tired.
I mean, hey, maybe the comeuppance will come up, based on what happened in Mar-a-Lago when the FBI raided his house.
Oh, wow, yeah. I don't know if I had that. No, I didn't have that on our list. That's technically a separate event, but I mean, like, it's all connected. It kind of blend, it's all connected. But yeah, no, we'll see what happens. I can't imagine that Trump doesn't get indicted at this point. To make it clear,
they find something.
They're probably gonna find something for sure.
I hope,
and, like, to make it
because
clear,
it'd be so bad.
Yeah, and like it has nothing to do with his political affiliations. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. It's just that he's a shitty person. Yeah, he's a shitty person who clearly has been doing shitty things for the past, like, 40, 50 years of his career. So, like, yeah.
Get rid of him.
Yeah, honestly. Just
jail.
Honestly. Lethal injection. No, I'm just kidding. But jail. Jail 100%. Jail. So,
cut
yeah.
Cut that. No, just...
Cut that. But yeah, so January 6th was a crazy time. And it's crazy that like we're finding out just how deep this whole thing went. How Marjorie Taylor Greene was low-key kind of a part of it. How Clarence Thomas's dumbass wife was a part of it. Like, it's just insane. Also, Marjorie Taylor Greene, jail.
Yeah.
Send her to prison. I've had enough of her.
Too much. The things I've been seeing on Twitter, just like her statements in regards, I'm just like, you just need to not say anything. Like, you're not, I don't know how you're in this position.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know how because, like, she to me feels like the very definition of failing upwards. I don't, like, she's so, and I just can't with her and the stuff that she says. One topic that we didn't put down here was Uvalde, which I don't really know if there's much to be said about that. It's
fucked.
A tragedy. It's horrible. It's fucked up. The police are terrible in that situation. Awful. But the fact that, like, a reporter asked her about, like, why there are so many events like this that are happening across our country, and her response was to come back at them about knifing, about people being attacked with knives, and it's like, Marjorie?
That's not
your
the answer.
Response to why is there so much violence in this country should not be, well, your country has violence.
Well, look at the knife problem you have.
Like, what? What type of response is that? Like, I'm confused.
Not even like the politician answer of, oh, like what happened in Uvalde was a tragedy. My heart and prayers go out to the families of Uvalde, and then gave a BS answer. Then you could have given, like, even the political answer right there, where they usually lead off with that, never was said. Just like, what about the knives?
It was just, oh my God, she's just out of her mind, and the fact that she's a politician is really scary to me.
Wait, did you say out of your mind? Well, it's a good thing we're going on to Alex Jones.
We love this because, oh boy. Okay. So, Alex
Seymour Jones.
Oh God.
Don't know if that's his middle name.
So currently, at the time that we're recording this, or rather, I guess it's been a week. I don't know if it ended because they did put down like a final decision. I don't remember what that decision was, but it was like he had to pay a lot of money. Regardless, so Alex Jones was put on trial. It was a defamation case involving the family of a victim in the Sandy Hook shooting. I don't remember if this was a class action suit or if it was just regular defamation. But with that being said, Alex had made some very, very awful claims about Sandy Hook being a hoax, the family lying about their child dying in Sandy Hook, and that it was all a ploy for people on the left, for liberals and Democrats to try and push their agenda about gun violence.
Yeah.
Well, and
first of all, during the trial, when one of the mothers testified, or was at least on, what's it called? What's it called when you're like on the bench, or on the?
Yeah, you're testifying.
I guess she's testifying. I didn't know if it was a cross examination or if it was like.
I don't remember. I think she was testifying.
But she was basically just giving a thing. She was basically like going after Alex in the most civil way possible. Like, she was just like, you don't believe in this. You know that, like, what you're saying is false. Like, she was very calm and collected when she was saying these things. But then she said the most outrageous thing, where she's like, you know that your episodes or your whatever you're doing is making you over $500,000. Like, the conspiracy shit that you're spewing is making you that much money. What? What?
I'm at a loss for words. That's insane that this man is making so much money off of bullshit. Like, it's insane. It's crazy. I've been saying that a lot about all these events, but like, they are. Like,
there was a war in Ukraine during all of this.
We didn't even talk about Ukraine. Oh my God. Like, there's just so much. But in the case of Alex Jones, he's always been crazy. He's always been wild. But like, at no point did I ever think that he was
a pedophile.
As well, first off, I think that he's possibly a compulsive liar, because did you see the stuff that happened like when he was testifying? Or when he was on the stand?
Briefly, yeah.
This man straight up was live streaming the trial and had a picture of the judge overseeing the trial on fire.
No.
And then when they were asked about it, he was like, no, it's justice. Like, justice as an idea being burned down. And it's like, well, isn't that the judge in the picture? Well, yes, but it's justice as a whole on fire. And it's like, what? While you're on trial? Like, are you serious? Like, that's insane. That's crazy. And then, the lawyer was asking him asking questions. He wasn't answering properly. The judge basically stopped him so that way he wouldn't answer. At one point, the judge had to go into recess because Alex had said something in front of the jury that he was not supposed to say, and the judge like admonished him for that. It was just like a lot of weird stuff that he was doing, and he was constantly lying. At one point, he started saying something, and the judge like told him to stop and to answer the question. And then he said like, "Oh, okay, so when she's allowed to say XYZ, that's okay. But when I try to say something, like I can't. All right, that's fair." And it's like, "What are you, sir?"
It was bad,
sir. Like, what is going on?
And during the cross examination with is it the defense or are they the prosecutor? They're the prosecutor.
Yeah, sorry.
And the prosecutor's like, okay, do you know the term? What was he saying?
Do you know the term?
Like you're condemning yourself. Like, crap. What's the word?
Perjury.
Yeah. So he's like, do you know what perjury is? and then he was never like answering the question. And he's like, all right, Mr. Jones, I need you to know what perjury is, because like you're basically like you're setting yourself up to fail, and like I want to win this case, but not that bad. Like, you're making it too easy for me.
Oh my god! And then his lawyers being incompetent. Apparently, like his lawyers had sent his entire phone to the prosecutors by accident.
I think they wanted him to lose too. Like, there's no.
I can't imagine that being done by accident. Some people were like, maybe Alex does have a conscience and he did that on purpose and was like, oh no.
Well, with that also exposed his child pornography.
Oh yeah, so... that. Oh geez, yeah. Apparently he has like, lewd material of children on his phone. I wasn't gonna say the that word because like I don't know, apparently you can get demonetized or some shit. I don't give a fuck. But bleep yeah, like
we'll bleep it.
It's fine. Yeah, apparently he had like very lewd images of children on his phone. I'm tired. I'm tired. I can't.
I hope they weren't the victims.
Oh God! Why would you say that?
I'm coping, Carol. I'm coping. It's my.
Oh my god! Oh no! It's so sad.
He'd be like, they're not real.
All this is all fucked up. This is all fucked up and sad. And it's like,
speaking of pedophiles.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Potential pedophiles. Ezra Miller. You know, he really is the real life Flash, because I don't know how he got from Hawaii all the way up to the East Coast.
Oh my god. Okay, well I will say Ezra Miller is non-binary. They go by they them. So
correct.
I will.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I just want to make that clear for anybody who corrects us or anything like that. We will try our best to make sure that we are addressing them by the correct pronouns. With that being said, they're fucking crazy. They're insane. I don't know what they are terrorizing a whole goddamn island.
Well, not only that, they're terrorizing everybody and abducting people.
They are causing mayhem, and they're just doing it, and we're all just like, oh, like Ezra's just out.
We're like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? They're the Flash. They're too quick.
Oh my god. I don't really have much to say about that. It's just, why is this person not in jail yet? I mean, I think that they were charged with something recently, but I don't know if that means that they're actually going to prison or if they're like just like I don't know what's happening. And then on top of that, just to feed into that, which we could like kill two birds with one stone, this and how it relates to the Warner Brothers discovery of it all.
Oh yeah. The silence speaks volumes.
I'm just tired. Like all this is crazy to me. So in the case of Ezra Miller, actor, the Flash does all that. Apparently they've been running around like causing all this mayhem. Apparently they had assaulted like fans, and they got like a cease and desist, or not cease and desist, like a restraining order placed on them because of a like there were like children that they were contacting for reasons unknown. I don't know the specifics of that. They were terrorizing a whole island, apparently like breaking a bunch of laws and causing a whole bunch of complaints in Hawaii at some point.
Do you think Fantastic Beasts just drove them to insanity?
Probably. I don't know what the fuck happened.
They seemed like such a normal person and like a nice person. I don't know. Like they seemed pretty like not under the radar, but like just like like oh, Ezra Miller, I know them. Like they're an actor, they're cool. Well, and then all of a sudden it's like oh, they're a terrorist, a domestic terrorist. It's like what is happening?
Well, they've always been kind of like iconoclast, I guess is that the right word? No. They've always been kind of like an interesting outsider in terms of Hollywood is concerned. Because I best know Ezra Miller for We Need to Talk About Kevin, which is like the movie that I personally think it's their best movie. I think it's their best performance. But they've always been kind of weird like that. I never thought that Ezra Miller would get to this point. As the Flash, I thought they were okay. I thought they were decent in that role. I don't really know if there was much to go off of because like we only really see them in Justice League and I think in like one scene in Batman v Superman.
Yeah, it was Batman v Superman.
Oh, and also Suicide Squad. But regardless,
they did show up for an episode of the Flash CW.
I hate extended universes. Anyway, we'll probably talk about that more in the next episode, but we'll get there.
No.
But Ezra Miller has just been causing a bunch of mayhem. I remember back in 2020, I think it was, there was a whole incident where they were basically approached by a fan, and at first it seemed like kind of playful, but then they started like choking the fan out or something like that. And the camera cuts off, and no one knew if it was like dead serious or if it was like a joke. And then like from there, people were like, "Do you remember when Ezra Miller did that?" And no one's saying anything. But now it's escalated to the point in which they're like violent towards people, and they're like on the run, and it's just sad. It's sad to see because I think that Ezra Miller is a very talented actor, and I think that it's very unfortunate to see them kind of fall from grace like that. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. I mean, about them specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I still want to see the Flash movie. Hopefully they don't.
I don't know.
Hopefully they don't cancel it.
Well, that falls into our next topic, which is Warner Brothers Discovery.
No, but like, I mean, even on I think they were going to cancel it because of Ezra Miller's actions. Which I'm like, I get, but at the same time, like, really, Snyder Cut. Just drop it. I'm not going to say anything. I'll give you money.
Well, here's the thing about Warner Brothers Discovery. So this one's a little bit more niche, but I guess I'll give like a short breakdown. Basically, with Warner Brothers Discovery, Warner Brothers used to be owned by AT&T, and then basically with the HBO Max launch and everything like that, they basically accumulated a whole bunch of debt. The business model, as far as streaming is concerned, is not really the most lucrative as far as making profit is concerned. So, AT&T had basically sold off Warner Brothers to Discovery. Discovery took over Warner Brothers. They now own it. But now basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to find ways in order to be able to mitigate the debt that was accrued through like HBO Max and various other business ventures that occurred with Warner Brothers. And so one way they decided to do that is by essentially liquidating. So what they did is, to start, they had canceled Batgirl. The Batgirl movie was canceled outright. It was almost completed, or rather, they started filming, and then they just canceled it. And basically what's going to happen is it's going to be placed on the shelf, and it's going to be left there as a tax write-off. So when something is left as a tax write-off, they can't release it. As long as it's not released, they can have it as a tax write-off, meaning that they could probably make more money off of having it as a tax write-off to get rid of the debt, as opposed to releasing it. One of the reasons why they made that decision is because they didn't think that Batgirl was going to be a lucrative enough film to make them enough money back to justify its release. That same thing goes for another movie that was going to be released, which is the Scooby-Doo sequel. They made like a Scoob movie on HBO Max, and they were going to come out with a sequel to that. And it was almost completed, actually. They finished the animation, and it was scrapped. That's also going to be placed on the shelf. And then there were several movies that were released on HBO Max that quietly were taken down. Some of them some of the titles include Locked Down, which was like a pandemic movie starring Anne Hathaway and Chiwetel Ejiofor. There was The Witches, also starring Anne Hathaway. It was Robert Zemeckis' film. They Moonshot, which was like a romantic comedy starring Lana Condor and is it Cole Sprouse? Cole Sprouse.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Yeah,
and several other titles that were dropped from the service quietly. And it wasn't one of those things where it's like, oh, this thing's going to be leaving the service on XYZ date. No, they just disappeared. And so this has created a lot of discourse in the film industry, because now Warner Brothers has been looking more towards the theatrical model, which is fine, but that creates a barrier to entry for a lot of filmmakers as far as what movies they're going to be making. And so as far as movies and TV shows on HBO Max that could be axed, HBO and HBO Max are two separate entities, essentially. When you have an HBO thing, that is something that also exists on the HBO cable channel. So that includes like Succession, Euphoria, Curb Your Enthusiasm,
Game of Thrones spinoff.
Game of Thrones. When you're talking about HBO Max, that's Max exclusive stuff. So that's like Sex Lives of College Girls, or the Gossip Girl remake, or the Rap Shit, which is Issa Rae's new TV show. So like there's a lot of stuff on HBO Max that could be axed. And that's very nerve-wracking for a lot of filmmakers and a lot of creatives. Now, where Ezra Miller and the Flash thing comes into play, and the reason why I kept connecting it is because I'm pretty sure the Flash is gonna still be released. And a major reason for that is because what they would consider is just not releasing the Flash and having it as a tax write-off. But the Flash is a theatrical film that may be lucrative enough for them to make more money, because they assessed that Batgirl wasn't big enough. And then on top of that, as far as HBO Max is concerned, there's a potential that HBO Max and Discovery Plus are going to be combined into one service. And there was a diagram that was released that really put people on edge, where basically they broke down HBO Max and Discovery Plus into two categories: male-focused, female-focused.
Oh, no.
The male-focused being like DC properties, Peacemaker, stuff like that. More scripted series. Discovery Plus was about like reality television.
Oh. Oh, no.
And then on top of that, there became like a discourse about like physical media, the fact that this streaming service is now dropping media that's been created by these people, and now the only way to access it is through, and well, assuming that it's been released on physical media, having physical media means that it's always accessible, as opposed to it being on a streaming service that basically leaves the accessibility up to the corporate entity that owns said streaming service. So like in the case of Moonshot is not a film that was released on physical media. So in a sense, by taking it off HBO Max, it's no longer available, period.
Yep, can't ever get it on DVD.
And that has become very scary for a lot of people. I'm sad that this is happening, because I do think that HBO Max, in my opinion, is the best streaming service. We could talk about the technical side of it, because it does have bugs in comparison to other streaming services. If you're talking about like the technical stuff as far as streaming service is concerned, I think Netflix is probably the most refined. But I do think that HBO Max, like as far as their content library, has been so good. They're the only service where you can get the Studio Ghibli films streaming. they have a bunch of like classic films you can watch. They have a merger with Crunchyroll and like things like that. Like there's a lot of media that you can't access in other places that they have, and I appreciate that. But if it goes away, that's so sad because I really do think that they were the best ones.
Damn. R.I.P.
R.I.P. That's it. That's all you got to say.
I mean, I don't even use the HBO Max that much, but yeah, no, I totally get that. From the few times I did use it, they did have some stuff that was like interesting. I think I'm more scared about for the physical media versus digital.
Yeah.
Because it's like not everyone has a DVD player anymore, let alone like any way to view it. So it's like having streaming services really helped alleviate the need to buy DVDs. But also just like the convenience of it all, and especially for like more indie or obscure films like Moonshot, where it's going to thrive on a smaller platform, or not a smaller platform, but a platform in which you can easily access it, because no one's going to be like see Moonshot on a shelf and be like, ooh, yeah, I want to watch that one movie with Lana Condor and Cole Sprouse in it where they go up to space and like he wasn't supposed to go up there. And it's like, yeah. So that's what I'm more worried about, because like I don't think other streaming platforms would ever think about doing that, because I feel like it's too beneficial to like take down digital only media. But yeah, it is something worth being concerned about.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So yeah, hopefully things get better.
Yeah.
And if Discovery is like, oh, Discovery Plus, fuck you. Anyway.
Speaking about discoveries, monkeypox.
Yep. So this is probably going to be the final topic. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that we didn't touch on that have happened, but I think this will be the last one. So monkeypox. Are we in a second pandemic?
I hope not.
Is it happening again?
Oh, well, Daryl, it's a gay disease. No.
No.
Hey, we're in AIDS part 2.
No.
No, I think we've moved past the whole homophobic, hopefully, narrative that are diseases.
Yes and no. Because I think the thing about it, is that we're right now, at least, we're mainly seeing a large cases of it happening within the gay community. With that being said, I think that creates a way for the medical community to kind of pigeonhole it, and I don't want to like encompass everyone in the medical community, because of course I think that we're now more educated than we were back in the like 80s when AIDS was popping off. But with that being said, I think that does allow for many people to use it as like a scapegoat. Like, it's only happening in the gay community, so everyone else is fine. And I think there are plenty of people who are uneducated who will probably just look at that for face value and be like, oh, okay. And then just...
But what if this is how we get conservatives to wear masks?
I mean...
You just say you're gay, even if you're not. And then, like, you cough a few times around them, and you be like, oh, see this spot right here? That's monkeypox. And then, like, maybe.
I would be dying. I would die. I would fall on the floor and just, that'd be done. That'd be so funny. But, like, yeah, it just sucks. And luckily it's not deadly, which is great. It's not like COVID in the sense that it's deadly. At least as far as I know, I haven't heard any cases of deaths occurring due to monkeypox.
There's still it's still a possibility, but I think it's like chickenpox, where it's like... Yeah,
that was my understanding.
Yeah, and it's like it's crazy incubation period. It's like 3 to 4 weeks. So like you may have it in like not to be like putting people in like a hysterical thing where it's like you may not know you have it until much later. It's like I don't think that's just like a max, like 3 to 4 weeks max. But still, like it's crazy that like it could be in your system that long and you not know.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to be in a pandemic part 2. Which, by the way, saw recently on the news that apparently the CDC is saying that you don't need a quarantine anymore for COVID.
I probably still would.
I would too, but I'm just saying fact checks me on that. But like, the fact that we're maybe exiting pandemic is interesting to say nonetheless. But we might be also another scare thing, which is polio.
Wait, what?
You haven't seen that? New York is popping off with polio cases.
How? Wait. So wait.
Exactly. We thought we eliminated
it. Eradicated.
But apparently there's some bitches who didn't get vaccinated with polio, and now there's polio outbreaks in New York. Yeah.
So are people who are vaccinated like susceptible?
I don't think so. It's just scary for people who aren't vaccinated. So say like you have a baby, right? And then there's a bunch of people, there's an outbreak of polio. That's like the more concerning thing. I don't think it's a concern for people who are vaccinated against polio, but I'll double check.
No, not. Now, you know that we're moving backwards if we're losing rights, and also diseases that were eradicated are coming back. Like that, you know that there's something wrong here when that's the case. Also, war. There's still a war.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just fucked up. I mean, luckily, at least as far as monkeypox is concerned, luckily there is a vaccine, which is good.
Yes.
But I think that there needs to be more of an effort to push people to actually go and get it, assuming that they're susceptible or whatever to the disease. Because I feel like that is something that is very, very like that's been very much pushed as far as the gay community is concerned. But I feel like to some extent it's like, if you're gay, go and get it. If you're not, you're fine, which is not the way you should be looking at it, because it's not a gay disease.
Yes,
there's no such thing as a gay disease. That just does not exist. And so I just think that more people should be actively looking into those things. I personally was considering getting monkeypox vaccine, but like well, first off, I'm not even sure because I never had like chickenpox or anything like that, so I don't really know exactly how it compares as far as that's concerned, like vaccines.
I don't know.
I have no idea. I don't really know that stuff, so I'd have to look into that. But yeah, with something like this, I mean, I just think that like I don't want to deal with more diseases to be afraid of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think it's like the whole thing, like, where it's like you have what is it called? A hypochondriac? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
Where we just
I think that's it. I think that's right.
Where you like start being paranoid about thinking you have a disease when you don't have it.
Yes. Yeah.
Where was I going with this? Oh God. Poop. But just being overly germophobic, I think is like a better way to describe it. Like, I know like going to high school, we talked about like MRSA. Like MRSA was a big thing, where it's like, oh, like there's drug resistant like bacteria and or viruses that you can get in the hospital, and they're constantly evolving and all this other. So I think there just comes a point where you just gotta like turn your brain off to it, and you just be like, not like you should be concerned, but you shouldn't be to the point where you're just like not leaving your house, or you become a bubble boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, as we know, shit happens every day. Not that you should become apathetic towards it, like someone we know. But but you shouldn't let it consume your everyday lives.
Yeah, I feel that. I think that's 100% true. I don't really have much else to add, but
and that's what you missed on Glee. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, moral of the story: world's falling to shit. Everything is terrible, and of course, there are other things that we missed. I bet you there's so much stuff that's been going on, not just here in America, but around the world in general. We didn't really
some genocides here and there.
Yeah, we didn't really get into the details of like the Russia-Ukraine war, but as far as that's concerned, like I hope everyone's staying safe. The fact that it's still going on is really sad, and
yeah, but at least it wasn't like a complete steamroll. You know, like Russia thought it was. Russia was like,
we'll
be in and out in like 2 weeks.
True. Putin's a fuckface, and no one likes him. No one likes you. No one likes you. So yeah. But yeah, I think that's everything. I mean, did you have anything else to add?
I had nothing else to add. I'm just glad that we're back. We have a schedule. We're going to stick to the schedule. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And yeah, we'll be hoping to see you around more. Hope you get more listens in. We'll be talking more about movies and the things to come, whether that be pop culture. Maybe we'll get a little bit more spicy in our episodes with like we did in this episode with our own political views. And well, you know, we won't say anyone's wrong or right, but you know where we stand.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, like you mentioned, we have a schedule. We're still gonna stick with every other week release. But we are actually like get everything together, making sure everything's organized so that we can actually like keep this up, because you know we love breaks, but like let's get this going. So yeah, thank you for listening, and tune in 2 weeks. Next time we're going to be talking about the various movies that we've seen throughout the year and kind of talk a little bit about our favorites. There's one in particular very excited to talk about.
Oh, yes.
Let you guys take a wild guess on what it is, and let us know your guys' thoughts on these things. You can find us everywhere you can find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. And yeah, with that, I'm Daryl.
And I'm Brandon.
And we will talk to you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.